We're assuming anyone who's a fan of the horror genre must have kept up with the iconic Halloween series and the rest of its franchise. They're the most iconic slasher films in America's cinema after all. But anyway, even if you're not a fan, you've probably seen all the love-hate over Rohan Campbell's character. Join us as we talk about how Rohan had no idea what Rohan was signing up for and more. First things first, Rohan Campbell was clueless. This horror epic, considered controversial even by the director and co-writer himself, gives the impression that its finality is solid. This horror epic ends. The final showdown between Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and Michael Myers, played by Jude Courtney, is soon to come. Longtime fans never expected Rohan Campbell, who plays Corey Cunningham in the film, to have such a large impact on the franchise. In fact, even Campbell himself wasn't expecting it. Apparently, Campbell originally wasn't aware he was considering a role within the Halloween universe at all. After his audition, the actor still had no idea of the central role that Green had in store for him. If you've seen Green's sequel Halloween Kills, in which the residents of Haddonfield are mowed down by Michael, it's hard to blame him for expecting anything different this time around. In his own words, Campbell joked that when you read Babysitter and Halloween, you're not making it past page 10. And those of us who've already seen the movie know better now, don't we? Now, let's talk about how Campbell's role and its unexpected twist. Now that the film's out, we know what the twist is that everyone had so taken aback, and the fans, who wanted something different from the typical paint-by-numbers slasher, satisfied. Michael's evil has been passed down this time, and we have a copycat killer wearing the worn and burned William Shatner mask. Instead of mirroring John Carpenter's 1978 film Ill-Fated Babysitters, Corey becomes a conduit for the evil that Green's trilogy sought to expand on. In an attempt to explain Myers' inexplicable desire to kill, Halloween Ends offers the audience a not-so-final boy whose soul was ripped apart the moment he accidentally killed the kid he was looking after, and possibly even before that. Campbell's character is a traumatized and emotionally unavailable guy, not because his life didn't have enough love, but because his mom smothered him with it. And this woman tortures Corey because she loves him so much, and that just adds to the trauma in this dude's already messed up mind. He became the scapegoat of evil during Michael's 4-year absence because Corey is apparently very vulnerable to Myers' influence, which we had no idea could be passed on like a virus until now. Mommy issues and unintentional homicide, folks. That's all it takes to become the perfect target for a slasher curse, apparently. Let's hear what Campbell had to say about his role. This movie with Corey was risky, especially when Green wanted to hone in on the romance that blossoms between this new character and Laurie's granddaughter, Allison, played by Andy Matichuk in a slasher movie. Campbell talked about his experience with the role, saying he wanted to do it so bad as an actor, but it was really scary to step into because he couldn't doubt himself. He explained that when David offered him the role, he was warned that a lot of people weren't going to be happy with what they were choosing to do. Up next, Jamie Lee Curtis admitted there were doubts about what David was planning with Halloween Ends. Jamie Lee Curtis admitted in the months leading up to the release of Halloween Ends that fans might be upset with what they saw, and there's a lot to unpack here, especially when it comes to Halloween Ends being agitating, stimulating, and infuriating. The Halloween franchise has gone off the rails several times in the past, leaving fans irritated and upset. Could this film follow in the footsteps of previous installments like Halloween Resurrection or Halloween The Curse of Michael Myers and end up being a letdown? Well, despite how shocking and upsetting Halloween Ends may be for some, Jamie Lee Curtis did make it a point to tell everyone how she considers it to be a beautiful conclusion to Blumhouse's Halloween trilogy. The original Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends comprise the Blumhouse Halloween timeline. The 2018 film was widely praised as a return to form for the Halloween franchise, with many critics hailing it as one of the best slashers of all time. Now, those are some big shoes to fill, and die-hard Halloween fans who've not watched the film yet are expecting nothing less than the stunning conclusion Curtis talked about. Moving on, despite everyone's doubts, Campbell's characters and the movie itself were a hit. Corey's arrival in the franchise may have thrown a wrench in the story fans thought they knew, but this isn't necessarily a bad thing. His role in the final film as the protagonist may have irritated some, but Campbell still praised the writers and Green's vision. Halloween Ends might just be one of the weirdest films in one of the horror genre's longest running series. Honestly, most of it feels like some cinematic prank where the audience is led down a storyline that has nothing to do with Halloween or even Michael Myers. And this might come as a disappointment to those who were looking forward to seeing the iconic killer wreaking havoc, but there's still a lot to keep you on edge of your seat in David Gordon Green's very unconventional approach to the final chapter of the new trilogy. We'll admit though, some of you probably won't grow to love this star-crossed love story and the offbeat script written by Green, Paul Brad Logan, Chris Bernier, and Danny McBride. But to each their own, we guess. Like it or not, Green set the franchise up for something that we've never seen before. Up next, let's talk about how Halloween Ends wasn't really about Michael Myers. First, how was the film so different from all the others in the Halloween franchise? As we said, for most of the film's runtime, Michael isn't even in the picture. He's still a constant looming presence, but we can't stress enough how much this one isn't really about him. The main characters are still Laurie Strode and her granddaughter Allison, but they're also also not the ones we meet at the start. Instead, the film focuses on a new character who in the trailers didn't even really look all that important. And the film takes its time and plays with the audience's patience. And there are so many moments where you'll probably find yourself wondering when Michael Myers is going to show up in his own film. Moving on, the film steered everyone's attention by keeping them curious and confused. Without giving too much away about how it all ends, nothing ever goes as planned, and even when the killer does appear, it all plays out in the trailer, with Corey discovering Michael underground. To a lot of people's disappointment, he doesn't immediately pick up his knife and resume murdering. Instead, Michael appears to have an unexpected psychic connection with Corey, which slowly but surely starts to take over his life. At the start, he appeared to be flawed, but potentially good kid who had made a mistake he now had to live with. And then the story and Corey's role start to take an unexpected turn. Even after they finally reveal the masked killer, the film doesn't really seem all that interested in bringing him fully out in the open until much later. For better or worse, this isn't the misfire that was Halloween Kills, in which Michael was let loose and all we had was 1 hour and 46 minutes of people getting ripped apart. Where the first installment had a lot of almost goofy kills, this third film is a completely different beast. Finally, Halloween ends with something entirely unexpected, but apparently in a good way. Nothing is straightforward, and the entire experience of watching it did successfully creep a lot of us out. It has a mean streak to it, as the movie appears to enjoy tearing itself and the characters apart, both in terms of violence and narrative progression. Michael, at least at the start, seems like he's in some weird state of hibernation, which, we admit, made us miss his horrifyingly unquenchable thirst for violence from the previous movies. It takes a while to figure out, but you either love the movie or you hate it. What could have been a horrible decision to almost entirely remove Myers from the story, and the way they saw that happening in the third film failed to attempt to turn the series into an anthology, somehow worked for this one. And the story deliberately throws the audience off guard from the start, holding back so much of what we expected it to be right up until the final act. This film was unquestionably the one with the least amount of slashing and killing compared to what we've seen before in the franchise, but its scary movie factor worked in fearsome fits and sinister starts, something even the people who hated this film still probably enjoyed. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you think the writers of Halloween Ends made the right moves with this film? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.